welcome to this video once again. In this video, we are going to look at news determinants. What determines news? I'm your usual lecturer, Felix Kunda, and I'm coming from Zambia Institute of Mass Communication. So let's look at news determinants. So basically, finding stories for journalists, it's a matter that they do almost on a daily basis. So they look for something that will interest their readers, they will look for something that will interest perhaps their viewers. But then the question comes in, what determines what they give to their readers? This is what they call news determinants. What will determine the information that they have to be called news? Now, there is a yardstick that they use for them to be able to determine what they will call news, and this is what we're going to look at. So one of the yardsticks is what they call impact. So the information that they have, if it has an impact on the community, then that information will be considered as news. So they're saying most news stories are about events that have an impact on many people, events that are likely to affect many people. So for instance, if someone is donating perhaps money to a clinic, the question that the journalist will be looking out for is how many people will benefit from that resources. So that becomes an impact, and that becomes a very good story. Now the next is what they call proximity. When we are listening to stories on television, when we are reading in the newspaper, there is also another which they call proximity. Now with proximity, an event will be more important if it is closer to the readers, viewers, or listeners. So basically what the journalist will consider is that the information that they have, if those people that are affected are able to see that story or able to read that story, then that story becomes news because it is closer to the people that are affected by such an event. Now the next, which is number 3 in the news determinants, is what they call prominency. Prominency. Now these are events involving well-known people and institutions. Names make news even when the event is of little consequence. So ordinary people are intrigued by the doings of the rich and the famous. So basically, for the journalist, when an important person perhaps visits any institution, even if the visit has no significance, the fact that this person is important, then that becomes news. So prominence, they look at important people. And in fact, when you're looking at a story, the weight or the importance of the story is dependent on the source, the person who has given that information. Now, the fourth in news determinants is what they call timeliness. Timeliness is the fourth. So this refers to events that are immediate or recent. Something is more newsworthy if it is reported at the time of occurrence. Now, with this, they're basically saying that for journalists, what we are going to see is something that is fresh. And if, for instance, news happens now and it is not reported, that news becomes stale. Or in short, it is not news at all. So any news that we hear on TV, on radio, or even what we read in the newspaper, these are something that are new. So for them, they consider it as very important in their writing of news. So the next one is called bizarre. So events that deviate sharply from the expected, that depart considerably from the experiences of everyday life, make news. So for instance, as an example, if perhaps you are walking and you see a dog and the dog bites you, so for a journalist, that might not be news. But if, for instance, this person sees a dog and he starts running after the dog and he bites the dog, so it's the other way around. So if a man bites a dog, then that becomes news. So because that is bizarre. And of course, here in Zambia, we had an incident where a person from Eastern Province of Zambia, had some needles, I think, in the body. So that also becomes news because this is something that is bizarre. Then the next one, as we go towards our conclusion in this presentation, we have conflict. So actual conflicts and even the danger of conflict make news as they tend to bring about major change. And we've seen in the media, currently we are watching Russia and Ukraine, they're fighting each other. and of course Sudan. So that conflict makes news. It's one of the news determinants. And of course, it's not just the physical clashes, even the ideas. So we have political parties fighting each other, and we see the media bringing this in their stories. And as we conclude, disaster, so basically be it a result of natural calamity like an earthquake or a volcano or even a bus crashing, so that becomes news. Then the last one is what we call human interest. So human interest, these are stories of people coping with various situations in life, making interesting news. So reports of a vendor, lifestyle, a sexual worker, and how she makes money make interesting reading. So with human interest, I will give you an example of what we are talking about. The last time I saw something on television where this reporter found people capturing caterpillars, and what she did was basically to follow how they capture caterpillars and how they prepare them, and that was shown on television. So that becomes human interest because people are interested to know what is happening that is out of the ordinary. So basically that's about news determinants in this video, and please don't forget to subscribe. I am your usual lecturer, Felix Kunda, and see you again.